Hey, coasters, coast heads, PMers. We need to come up with a name for y'all, fam. It's Chris. I'm the Harry Styles to this podcast, and then I'm currently working solo. Also, I dated Olivia Wilde for a while. She still booty calls on holiday weekends. But I'm married, Olivia. How many times do I have to tell you? We kind of blew it big time this week. It wasn't completely our fault, though. Promise. My birthday, a couple of other family members' birthdays, a showing of Ain't Too Proud, a trip to the Low Country, and a trip to D.C., and now you don't get a new episode this week. Sorry, we really try not to let it happen to. But we do have a special surprise for some of you, especially our completionists. Going through some of the sites that hold C2C PM, I noticed that a couple early episodes are missing from the catalog due to formatting issues. We're going to start fixing that. So here's the re-airing of Jason the Horse, our very first episode, and an episode I believe captured a lot of what we were trying to do with this podcast. The earnestness of Jason is what really enraptured me with this story and led me to believe that Paul had come up with a really special idea after we'd finished recording our inaugural podcast. Sometimes it's the strange, out-of-this-world, creepy, and inexplicable that reveals the most about us as a society and as individuals. So I hope you sit back and relax, enjoy your car ride home, folding your clothes, or making dinner, and let Jason the Horse take you into the mythical world of Otherkin.
In the high desert in the great American Southwest.
Welcome to Coast AM. John, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us. You're with us.
Welcome to Coast PM, the podcast. My name is Paul. I am here with my brother, Chris. Chris, what's up?
What's going on, dude? Super excited to get the pod started.
Dude, inaugural.
Sure.
Inaugural.
That's a
podcast.
word, I think. Yeah.
It's a hard word to say. Yeah, man, very excited. Chris, before we jump into today's episode, which is going to be a doozy, I'm so excited to share it with you. Would it be helpful to our new listeners to share what the hell this podcast is?
Yeah, what is Coast to Coast PM?
So Coast to Coast PM is kind of a bit of both of our brainchilds, I think. You know, Chris, we've podcasted together before. We also are brothers and, have to live together for 18 years of our lives. And
maybe more than that, actually.
More than that, you're right, because we were roommates for a while, too.
That's right.
So one thing that I do know about you, Chris, is that you like the paranormal.
I like a little paranormal. I like a little conspiracy.
Yeah, you love both of those. I always remembered you watching Ancient Aliens when I was a kid.
Love my Ancient Aliens. Love my late night History Channel.
It's great stuff, man. And one of the things that I've gotten into recently, for quite a while, is a little radio show called Coast to Coast AM on AM.
So
AM.
We're the opposite being PM.
We are the opposite. So it's different, and they can't sue us.
Well, and I believe that their AM is referring to AM radio, and we're referring to the evening time, afternoon.
That is correct. That is correct. Because we're recording this in the evening.
We're always going to be recording this in the evening. So we're Coast to Coast PM.
And we're also putting to bed a lot of what they talk about on Coast to Coast AM.
Now, I don't know if I like that.
I know you won't. It'll be hard for you. I am the skeptic of the group, I think, is something that people should know. And you are the believer, I would say.
Or a believer.
Yes.
As some might say.
So what Coast to Coast AM is a radio show that started back in the late 80s, kind of got a lot more popular in the 90s. And it was originally hosted by a man named Art Bell.
Yes. And
Art Bell's goal was to create a safe space for people to call in super late at night from midnight to 4 a.m. Central Time.
Oh my God.
This is what this radio show runs.
No wonder there was such insanity on those early episodes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's the most popular late night show.
All the cranks at 2 a.m. just calling in, talking about aliens, Bigfoot, and Men in Black.
Yes, exactly. So from midnight to 4 a.m., you have all the crazies calling into a show, and he talked about everything, right? It was aliens, it was ghosts, it was witches and magic.
It was never-ending holes in your backyard.
Never-ending holes in your backyard was one of the shows, and it's beautiful, magical stuff. And Art Bell, he was a great host, man. He had this like smoky voice. He'd draw you in, and he just wanted to talk to people. And my favorite thing about those old episodes, because I've been listening to quite a few of them, is that he ran the show himself, especially in the earlier days. So there was no one screening calls. He
just took all calls.
Anyone who called in just got on the show.
Yes.
There was no one to not let you, I mean, there's no layer.
There is something magical about that though. Right? I mean, just the free form nature of it all is pretty incredible. And I mean, how many of these people could never imagine? There's no way most of them could have gotten on regular radio.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I mean, they would have totally been screened out within the first 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, I got a Bigfoot story, and the person's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to go on live air.
There's a great one where one of the callers that called in to Coast to Coast called in specifically because he broke onto Diane Rehm on NPR interviewing Dick Cheney. So he called into Coast to Coast and said, dude, I got to ask Dick Cheney about UFOs.
So Art Bell was the host of Coast to Coast for a long time. It's George Norrie now, right?
Yeah. So Art Bell retired in the early 2000s and then passed the torch to George Norrie, who runs.
Okay. Then that's where I came across Coast to Coast, was George Norrie late at night in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I fell in love with AM radio. It was like right talk radio. I was getting my afternoons with Rush Limbaugh, and then my late nights with George Norrie, Coast to Coast.
It's a beautiful, beautiful time. And, the thing about Coast to Coast that I love is that it's really anything and everything that can end up on it,
Yeah. Oh, so anything that is like outside normal.
Well, and this really, to me, is in honor of Art Bell, because Art Bell actually did not like George Norrie. So how does George end up taking over Coast to Coast? He liked him initially. So okay. Art Bell's show honestly was a place for everyone to come together. When you listen to his shows from like the 90s, people would call in from like the evangelical far right all the way to like hippie Wiccans would be out and talking on Coast to Coast. And it was just a place for people who were just into weird shit. And you believe in aliens, you believe in ghosts, you believe in the occult. This is the place for you to call in, and it's a safe place where you wouldn't be made fun of, right? And you can express your opinions.
Everyone has some kind of weird thing that they believe in.
Exactly.
And that one weird thing that you believe, you could call and talk about it with Art Bell.
And it was cool. Yeah. It was cool. And he might crack a joke or two about it, but he was really down to earth.
I'm an accountant, but I believe in angels.
Exactly.
And like, not like, blondes in togas and wings, but like the crazy trans-dimensional circles with 400 eyes and 30,000 wings, right?
I don't know where you're going with this.
That's the type of angel I'm talking about. Trans-dimensional beings coming from the 13th parallel dimension, and this is what we're talking about, right? Like, you don't believe this stuff.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
And there's going to be a very specific person who knows exactly what I'm talking about.
There will be, and I hope that
the real angels, dude, not these fake Christian angels. I'm talking about real angels.
So bringing this back in.
Oh yeah. So
George Norrie came on and he took over Coast to Coast, and he was like kind of like a weekend host who kind of fill in for Art Bell. So he was in the the ethos or whatever, right? He was there, he was around, and he takes over after Art Bell retires. Art Bell comes back every once in a while. He runs like 1 day a week out of his house in the Philippines because he marries a woman.
He lives in that's like classic Crank Island.
Yeah.
Dude. Classic Crank Island. You got to get out of America, go to the Philippines.
You got to bail. And then he starts running a show called Midnight in the Desert, which is on Coast to Coast AM. And eventually he just comes out and is like, George Norrie is a piece of shit. The reason why is because George Norrie starts making Coast to Coast more political than it used to be.
Right.
So he starts kind of, signaling to that the weird side of the right that's really into like drinking colloidal silver and
what mainstream media calls alt-right, essentially.
Yeah. Exactly. He teases them a bit more. He talks more about politics at the beginning of the segments, which Art Bell didn't do.
Right.
So that was kind of Art Bell's big beef, was that he was like, George in a direction that I didn't want him to go.
Well, and George goes on Ancient Aliens all the time.
He does, and he's also on Gaia TV. He has his own show on Gaia.
What is Gaia TV?
Gaia is a very strange subscription channel where you can watch people talk about anything from aliens with George Norrie and UFOs to like the Earth Mother to like speaking to dead celebrities through psychics. It's
okay. All right. But it's kind of what Coast to Coast is, but for a streaming platform.
Yeah, but also worse. It's
really
a lot worse. Yeah.
Yeah. They just let anybody have podcasts and content these days, dude.
They really do. And they need to stop.
They need to stop having content.
Like,
dude.
why we shouldn't be allowed to make this show.
We shouldn't be allowed to do Coast to Coast PM.
We shouldn't, but we are. And
but we're going to.
Guess what we're going to do today, Chris?
Oh, God, please. What are we going to do?
So number one, I want to start off the episode because Coast to Coast's website at coasttocoastam.com has articles and videos that they post. And they're
hold up a second. Let's hold up a second. We're still describing what the podcast is, right?
Yes.
So you're jumping in too quick.
I'm just too excited.
I'm not supposed to be running this, dude. I'm
excited.
The crank. I'm the crank. All right. I'm the guy calling in. You're Art Bell.
All right. That's what the podcast is going to be, though, right? I want to start off with an article from their website, and then I want to jump into a very specific episode. Each episode of our podcast is going to be an episode breaking down an episode of Coast to Coast.
All right. So, but we'll start at the very beginning with an article.
Yes.
That you read, and I say how true it is the whole entire time.
Yeah, you let me know how true you feel.
Yeah, on a scale of I believe this to my bones, that's what we're going to talk about. And then next, we go into a weekly segment on whatever it is that was on Coast to Coast this week.
Yes, exactly.
All right, cool. And then and then we have, is there another segment, or is that those are the two things we're going to do? Those are
the two things. So
we're not going to do any phone calls?
That's part of the second segment.
Okay.
So part of Coast to Coast is obviously the story and the interviewee, and then they always take calls. So
got to take the calls.
We'll go to the open lines.
Yeah.
We
got to go to the lines.
So, Chris, you want to start, or do we need more groundwork?
I think we've covered most of the groundwork. I'm confused. You know what I mean? I get so deep into the metaphysical that sometimes you got to ground me in the physical. And so I just wanted to make sure I understood how this podcast was going to work.
That's exactly how it's going to work. And it's going to be a great time. We're going to be breaking down Coast to Coast episodes.
Okay.
And Coast to Coast articles, because I'm addicted to it, man. I've listened to hundreds of hours of old and new Coast to Coast, and I just need to talk to someone about it because the shit's weird and wild. And it just needs to be talked about. No one talks about it. No one even knows what it is because no one is up that goddamn late to listen to it.
So we are gonna go back and do old Art Bell episodes, though, right?
We definitely will. Today is a newer episode. It was
because I was gonna say I only know George Norrie, dude, and you've gotten me very excited about the occult Wiccans calling in, because I'm going to say I never heard too many occult Wiccans on George Norrie.
So one of my favorite Art Bell episodes that we will cover at some point is a woman who is being interviewed by Art Bell, who claims that she's a satanic witch, like a real Satanist.
Oh yeah.
And then so many,
not a Levian, who's actually just a hedonist.
Yeah.
A actual, I worship Satan and tried to bring the Dark Lord back from the realms of hell.
A Catholic Satanist, where
specifically.
In terms of, like how the Catholic Church views Satan, this individual claimed to have believed that Jesus was real. He was the Son of God. He died for our sins. Satan is evil, and I work for Satan to try and bring about his reign on earth.
Oh, nice. And
so many angry Wiccans called in, and it was the funniest thing hearing these Wiccans bitch at this Satanist. It was great.
So I didn't remember this. He allows people to call in and talk to the guests.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's the whole point. So you'll hear some of that today, some call-ins.
Wow.
So what I wanted to start with today, though, Chris, because we'll cover old Art Bell episodes. Today is an episode from February. But before we even jump into that, there was an article that I found on their website about a haunted doll.
Haunted doll. So kind of a Chucky thing.
Or an Annabelle thing.
I didn't see Annabelle because I just don't care about haunted dolls.
I watched the series that Annabelle came from, which was The Conjuring. And then the Annabelle movies were the prequel. I attempted to watch one of the Annabelles on a plane, and it was so bad that I had to turn it off. And
wow, dude. That's a bad movie when you got to turn it off mid-flight.
I've watched some shit on planes that I'm not proud of, and I never turn it off. I had to turn that one off.
Well, you shouldn't be proud generally, but go ahead.
So, tagline of this: watch. Security camera catches creepy haunted doll moving on its own? ?
Oh, okay.
That's terrifying.
All right. So
we'll
all right. I'm enticed already.
Right? That's an enticing. That is some clicky bait.
I'm enticed.
I clicked on that bait. And let me read to you from the article. A spooky piece of security camera footage from England shows a purportedly...
let's just hold right there before you get any further. If we're in England, dude, almost certainly there's hauntings going on, right?
There has to be.
So I'm already at, I believe it in my bones.
You're already there.
I'm already there. From the first, dude, you clicked on it. We're in England, security camera footage from England. Let's go.
I'm pretty sure when you're in England, half the people you see are ghosts.
That's
just a fact. So purportedly, this haunted doll seemingly moving on its own I'm going to restart this.
No, dude, live, baby. This is
live.
All live.
We're doing this live.
This is live.
Some suspect that a ghost child could have been playing with the toy. The weird scene reportedly unfolded last week in the town of Rotherham at the home of paranormal enthusiasts Lee and Lindsay Steer, who have turned their residence into something of a museum of haunted objects. According to the couple, the doll at the center of the eerie video had recently been sent to them by an anonymous donor who offered no insight as to why they had mailed the creepy doll to them. However, the answer to that question might be found in the footage captured by the camera in their home.
I love that we're already that not only it's not like some random English person, right? Paranormal enthusiasts who have a museum of haunted things.
Specifically, they have a collection of allegedly haunted dolls, which is
man. That's got to be a whole subgenre into itself, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I guess how do you get Chucky and Annabelle, right? There's got to be some kind of subculture that's already super into haunted dolls.
Yeah. And, well, you know what I'm really happy for is that these two people found each other.
Yeah.
Because it takes a special type of person to want to collect haunted dolls. And the fact that they're a married couple doing it sounds like a great hobby.
And bonding ritual for sure. Okay, keep on going with the article.
All right, noticing that something was amiss, the newly acquired doll, the morning after they placed it with their collection, the steers checked the security system that watches over their allegedly haunted objects at night and were astounded by what they saw. So
True paranormal heads, though, you got to keep cameras on everywhere, dude, all the time. Because what if you don't catch it? If they didn't have the security camera footage, they wouldn't have seen this doll being haunted.
Exactly. You have to have a camera on your dolls at all times. Everyone knows this.
Those English are very smart people.
They're wily. So in the footage, the toy can be seen lurching forward in a series of odd motions, as if it's being manipulated by an unseen force.
Keep going. I'm loving it. I love it.
Quote, it's like the joints are physically moving like a human, Lizzie observed. If it was a natural fall, it had gone to the floor, but it didn't. The way she was positioned defies gravity.
Oh my God. Please tell me we have live footage of this video.
I'm going to play you the footage in just a moment. Interestingly.
Oh, I can't wait. Go.
Despite being the home of an array of objects suspected of being haunted, she revealed that this footage is the first time we've caught something moving on camera at the museum, and mused that it baffles me. As one might imagine, given the nature of where the doll lives, some have suggested the toy caught the attention of a ghost child that was intrigued by the new addition to the collection. More skeptical viewers argue that
a ghost child, dude.
A ghost child just hangs out in the doll
child.
Yeah.
That hangs out in the haunted doll museum.
Just
so, I mean, where else would a ghost hang out though?
You would hang out with the haunted dolls.
You would hang out with the other haunted beings, right? And they're just like, it's just got to be like a flashing sign, right? You're just like a mosquito going to the zapper, right?
Well, I'm a little curious that why would a ghost child need to find the haunted dolls? Why wouldn't they just go to like Walmart and go to the toy section?
Are there haunted or are there normal dolls in the ghost plane, or do you have to play with a doll in our plane?
That's a great question.
Because to me, if something is haunted, right, that means that it has to have some kind of soul. And so, like, these dolls have souls, or is something else embodying the dolls? And that would suck as a something. I would be ticked. Like, if I was some kind of like demon or something, and I was put into this doll that was then put into this English couple's haunted doll collection. And I'm just like surrounded by other like demons on a shelf. And we're just all like stuck here in this weird English couple who has hundreds of seemingly haunted dolls. And like I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it's the latter scenario. It's the doll is possessed. And like you said,
it's a possessed doll.
Imagine coming up from the depths of hell as a demon and you get doll duty. You
get doll duty.
You don't even
That's a bad duty, dude. That's got to be some of the worst duties.
Dude, it's like your demon buddy is the one in like The Exorcist who's like turning people's heads around and like vomiting and like cursing Latin. And then you get the doll.
You get doll. What have you been doing for the last 100 years, Beelzebub? Well, I was on doll duty, and some asshole who I was supposed to be haunting sent me to an English couple for some reason, and they put me on a shelf. And so all I could do was lift up in the air in some seemingly defying gravity way, and they caught me on camera and they put the video on YouTube.
Allegedly, Chris, because according to the article, more skeptical viewers argue that
the skeptics,
the
polls,
yes.
The polls are going to come in and ruin this for me.
They argue that it's either a clever hoax or that the object's inexplicable movement was a natural event that seems paranormal by virtue of where it happened. So that's the end of the article.
All right.
Their articles are very short. And I would just like to call it the fact that, Chris, what I'm about to show you, they've described as an inexplicable.
Inexplicable.
So
inexplicable means it cannot be explained.
It cannot be explained.
And we'll put the video in the show notes.
We'll drop in the show notes, but I know this is an audio format. So, Chris, do you mind just describing to me what you see right now?
What I'm looking at definitely does look like a British person's room. They even so much have the Union Jack with a ghost in the middle, just so I would know that this is in fact a British person who loves ghosts.
Yes.
And now I'm also seeing what does appear to be one too many dolls on a bookshelf.
A lot of
and
dolls.
They are all somewhat creepy. But I'm actually a little surprised because they all look like these dolls have been like made since the 80s.
They're not old
like
dolls.
These are not like old creepy porcelain British dolls. These are like modern plastic dolls.
Yeah, they are made from petrochemicals for sure. They are not.
Which doesn't seem like the type of doll that could get haunted.
Dude, some of these, they look like 2000s dolls to me, honestly.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, yeah, like, definitely.
Like,
definitely. All right.
If you're listening to this and you played with dolls, one of your dolls is up here. So let me draw your attention to the bottom left of the screen, Chris.
All right, bottom left, I'm looking at the doll that is not on the shelf.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and that's it. That's the inexplicable movement. It has a big head, dude. The doll has a big head, and it just falls over.
It leans over slightly,
and that got a whole article on Coast to Coast AM.
It got an entire article on Coast to Coast. That movement.
Oh man, dude, the paranormal world must have been a little slow this week.
You know, I missed the days when we didn't have video footage and someone could have just told me that there was a doll moving in their house, because that is way more intriguing than that video.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So I'm going to go down to just, I believe it. I don't believe this to my bones. This is just a regular belief. Could be a little haunted, but it definitely looked like it was just a fat head doll that wasn't quite placed properly and it just fell over.
I think that's most likely what it was. If I had on a scale of 1 to 5, I give that a 1. I'm not impressed with it.
Not impressed, dude.
But you know what? They made it onto Coast to Coast. So good for those weird British people who collect haunted dolls.
The Steers, dude. So if you're ever in Rotherham, England, make sure you stop by the haunted house, or not the haunted house, the Haunted Doll Collection Museum.
Yes, it's going to be a wonderful time for you and your friends.
You might see a doll kind of fall over because it has a fat head.
Because it's got such a big head.
It's got such a fat head, top-heavy doll.
So that was our wonderful article from coasttocoastam.com.
What an article, dude. What a way to start out, dude. You had me at hello and then you lost me at goodbye, dude.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And so the episode that we're going to be digging into today, Chris. So let's transition to the episode part of our foray into Coast to Coast AM today. This is where a gentleman named Jason the Horse came on and was interviewed by host Ian Punnett. So Ian is a host that does fill in for George Norrie sometimes, and he is the one who has a direct line to Jason the Horse.
Jason the Horse.
So before we get into who Jason the Horse is, I just wanted you to hear the introduction to Coast. This is how Ian opens the show.
All right.
I just think it's the perfect kind of microcosm of the vibe of Coast to Coast.
All right, vibe me, baby.
Weird.
Vibe me.
Greetings, Mr. and Mrs. Middle America and all the ships at sea. This is Ian Punnett on Coast to Coast AM, and to the hostile invading alien armies hovering silently outside Earth's atmosphere, hiding behind their cloaking devices. Remember, eat the Canadians first. You may be attracted to Canada like the rest of the world is watching right now, because apparently it's rocking Northern Lights this week.
What are the ships at sea?
No idea. Also, eat the Canadians first. Aliens hiding in your secret ships. That just brought me so much joy.
For sure, though, definitely go after the Canadians first.
You got to eat the Canadians first. So
they have poutine.
They do, and it's delicious.
It's pretty good.
It is delicious. So the gentleman that is on today's episode being interviewed is Jason the Horse. And Chris, Jason the Horse is what's called a theranthrope. And he claims that he has the living soul of a horse and is trapped in a human body. So this is the introduction of Ian meeting with Jason the Horse.
Too long, buddy. I think if it's okay, I'm just going to keep referring to you as Jason the Horse because that has become your name on the show. There were so many people that are convinced of your sincerity and your authenticity that I think it's really the only name that really applies.
So he's been on the show multiple times.
He's been on the show about 4 times over the past 10 years.
And this is a man who believes he has a horse in his body.
He believes he has a horse soul. He has been trapped in a human body. He is a horse in a human body.
Did he choose the name Jason, or that's just his name?
That is his real first name.
That's his real first name.
He has an actual last name, but they just refer to him as Jason the Horse.
It would have been better if he called himself like Nay.
Would have been a move for sure. That could have been.
I don't know how you spell that, but
I don't either.
All right. So, anyways, he is a horse stuck in a middle-aged man's body.
Exactly.
Named Jason.
Yes, and he goes on to define what this is that he is a part of, right? Like what this phenomena is when you have the soul of an animal.
Okay, a theranthrope.
How do you define, for people who don't know, how do you define your particular situation? How do you describe it to others when you reveal your true identity?
What it is I am what's called a therian. And I understand that comes from the Greek word therianthrope. And that's what therianthrope means. It means any animal spirit in human form. In my case, I'm an equine therianthrope, or therian, as the term is normally used for short.
I mean, dude, he's a therian.
He's a therian.
He's a therian.
Now, I did a little digging into this because I found it very interesting.
Okay.
And there's a few names for people who...
I was going to say, dude, this isn't the first guy to think he has a animal inside of his body.
He is not. There is a whole community of people who believe that they are actually an animal. So they're referred to as therians, or sometimes they refer to themselves as otherkin.
Otherkin,
okay. Which honestly is my favorite.
Yeah, I like Otherkin, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They are defined as people who identify as mythical or natural creatures. This can include angels, demons, dragons, elves, fairies, sprites, wolves, foxes, horses, aliens, and generally fictional characters.
I'm a therian if I think I'm Harry Potter.
Yes, you could say that you're actually Harry Potter and you're a therian. Many otherkin believe in the existence of a multitude of parallel universes, and their belief in the existence of supernatural or sapient non-human beings is grounded in that idea.
Interesting. Okay, keep going.
With regard to their online communities, otherkin largely function without formal authority structures and mostly focus on support and information gathering, often dividing into more specific groups based on their kin type. There are occasional offline gatherings, but otherkin networks are mostly an online phenomenon.
So are bronies otherkin?
Bronies?
Yeah. So
bronies, I believe, would be more in a furry or sort of cosplay category. So
I'm having a trouble kind of seeing. So it's probably like not all furries are therians, but probably most therians are furries.
So there is a distinction here, right?
Okay.
Because furries, they typically, and I don't want to speak for the whole furry community because don't fuck with the furry.
Don't speak for the whole furry community, just as your own furry existence.
My understanding,
how you see yourself as a furry.
So furries do typically have like an alternative persona. They have like a furry persona. So they have a name, they have a character, and then they make a costume based on that character, right? But they don't literally believe that they are that animal. Otherkin literally believe that
they
they are that animal,
right.
trapped in a human body.
So does this guy dress up as a horse though, or he doesn't need to dress up like a horse because the horse is inside of him?
Dressing up like a horse doesn't do anything for him because he's still trapped in a human body.
Right.
You're not playing a part. You are the thing.
Yeah.
So he doesn't do any sort of cosplay or anything like that. This is specifically people who believe literally that they are that creature.
How far are we away from turning this guy into an actual horse, do you think?
I mean, 4 or 5 years?
4 or 5.
We got to be almost there, right?
The marvels of medical science. This guy's going to be a horse in 5 years.
He's got to be a horse.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm intrigued.
Right?
I'm definitely intrigued.
But Chris, I know what you're thinking to yourself. You know, you're in a human body. When did you realize you were a horse?
Yeah, it had to be relatively early on.
It was very early on.
Very early on.
2 years old.
His first memories are seeing a sugar cube and being like, man, I'd really like to eat that.
I'd lick the shit out of that.
I would like a bag of oats attached to my face, please.
He remembers from about 1.5 to 2 years old was when he first started having his horseman.
Okay. So like his first memories are horse memories.
Yeah, I don't remember anything earlier than like 4 or 5, but this guy's dropping 1.5, 2 years old. Somehow.
Well, you got a horse inside of you. They age at a different pace than modern humans. I mean, a foal can literally start walking, an hour after being birthed. It takes us years.
Honestly, that's a great point.
In some cases, I'm still not walking by myself.
You're making me believe this more. All right, okay. So let's listen to him discuss his 2-year-old memories.
2-year-old memory of being a horse.
After 2 years of age, there was an incident where my mother and father and I had gone downtown in the car. My mother was holding me, and there was one of those large billboard signs, and it was for the old, I couldn't read obviously at that tender age, but I remember the logo, that's how I remember. It was a billboard for BOAC, the old British overseas air carrier. And what it showed was an oblique view of an English countryside, with the fields, the hedgerows, and the stone fences. And as I looked at that, suddenly, from out of nowhere in my mind, I suddenly found myself, in my mind, remembering trotting down a road, pulling a 2-wheel cart. And it felt very good. I enjoyed that. I didn't, of course, at that age, I didn't even try to analyze it. I didn't know what analysis was. It was just...
So he just had this memory of trotting down a road with a cart.
Yeah. And you see a British countryside and you're like, oh, wow, I'm 2 years old. I must have been a horse.
You gotta, that's the only explanation for this, honestly.
I'm a horse stuck in a human body who likes, that's almost even better than like wanting oats trapped on your face. It was just like, I'm trotting down an English countryside.
It was
Now this man doesn't sound English to me.
No, he is not. He's American.
I see what you kind of did. You kind of did a little bit of a British tag on this one, huh?
What do you mean? A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, we got the British doll people, and now we have a man whose first memory was the British countryside being like, oh, I'm a horse.
Yeah, I actually think that I'm a British person trapped in an American body, so I'm trying to figure that one out still. But
well, if you talk to the Queen, we all are, aren't we?
That's true.
Bunch of damn rebels.
A bunch of bastard rebels. So he has first person flashback. So that's the big thing, is that it's not a flashback of like a horse walking down a lane. He sees himself in these flashbacks as the horse.
He's actually trotting in the English countryside.
He's actually like physically trotting
on 4 legs. Here's an A. It's himself. He's the one name.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's listen into one of his many flashbacks, because he goes into a lot of these stories.
It's all flashbacks, baby.
Yeah.
So as you were saying that you had the memory of you trotting down the lane, it wasn't you remembered looking at a horse doing that. You were seeing it through the eyes of a horse trotting down the lane.
That's right. So, part of the view was obscured to the rear and sides by blinkers, or blinders, as they call them. And I had vision, the end of my nose and the tack, the bridle and everything. And I could feel the impact of the ground on my 4 feet and all of the various sensations that a horse feels and has.
So this dude's having a full acid flashback at 2 years old.
Essentially, yeah.
Just can remember everything there is about being a horse going into this English countryside.
Just trotting down the road, has on the blinders. He is the horse, man.
Got the bridle in his mouth. He's going.
Yep. And that's his life, man, is that he is this horse trapped in a human body. And apparently is just constantly kind of having these like flashbacks. And he has all these, hidden memories from his past lives of being a horse that kind of slowly unravel throughout his life.
So wait a minute. You just said past lives, plural. He's always a horse, except now.
Except now. I actually have a clip of him remembering that he was a horse in medieval Germany once.
So he really is always a horse.
He's always a horse, but he just ended up in a human body.
Accidentally ended up in a human body.
Yeah, he had multiple horse lives that he can recall.
Somebody in the karmic retribution made a serious error that day.
Yeah, I think he just got like assigned the wrong like stamp on his like passport when you're going back to Earth, And,
they're like, yeah, human, whatever. And then no one looked back and was like, no, this dude's been a horse for thousands of years.
See, that's the problem with government bureaucracy, man, is that they don't care. They don't care.
That's true.
And you fall through the cracks, right?
Is that a Matt Damon joke?
It wasn't, but it could be.
Adjustment Bureau.
Oh, that's a great movie. I still love that movie.
All right, go ahead. I want to hear about medieval German horse.
I'll get into medieval German.
I ever saw an overcast sky in the evening where there were breaks in the overcast, like thin lines between the clouds where you could see the dimly lit blue sky beyond it. And I remember the first time I saw that triggered another memory where I was somewhere, I'm pretty sure it was what is now northern Germany, quite a long time ago. I couldn't give an exact date, perhaps sometime in the Middle Ages, I would guess, where I was a large black horse going across a dark valley from where I had been to a village with a rider on my back. And I remember seeing that village, a few of the torches in the distance reminded me of warmth and hay, that there was a place for me that was waiting for me when we arrived there. I have no idea who the person riding me was or what we were doing or why, but I just remember that.
All right. So he's going through mostly Europe as a horse.
Yes.
So it's a very European horse.
Very European horse. Apparently is never an American horse because all of his memories are
not an American horse, not an Asian horse, not an African horse. Very specifically a European horse.
Very European horse. And that does feel a little problematic now that you call it out like that he just thinks he keeps being reincarnated specifically in Europe.
Well, this is always kind of my problem with people when they start talking about reincarnation, because they're always somebody important, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's like, I was a bricklayer in early Aztec, 100 BC. Like, no one has that story. It's always like, I was a prince, I was a hero, I was a general, I was whatever, It's like, no, listen, you were a dingleberry like the rest of humanity always is.
Yeah, it's like in feudal Europe, 99.9% of the people were starving farmers. But somehow everyone was a prince if you were past life.
Exactly. You were just roaming around trying to get a potato. That's all you wanted, was one potato. That was most of your life, was trying to get a potato if you were good enough to live.
Yeah. And then guess how you die? You, like, at age 30, you have diarrhea to death. That's
diarrheaed yourself to death.
That was it. That was
no one is giving me that story in their past life.
I'd believe it more if I heard more of that, honestly.
Yeah, I died of diarrhea 20 times throughout my past lives.
This next portion is about how difficult it was for him being a horse trapped in a human body because he couldn't figure the human body out.
The human body is nothing like a horse's body.
It's very different, and it causes a lot of problems for him developmentally.
Go, baby. I can't wait. I can't wait.
There were other things too that, for example, as I got a little older, my parents were perplexed because I didn't, and it's true. It took a while for me to learn how to use my fingers and especially my thumb properly. There was nothing pathologically wrong with them, no neural pathway problem or anything. I just simply didn't know how to manipulate them. I mean, I would pick up a spoon with my 4 fingers, wrap around them, and then they showed me, don't use your thumb in opposition to that. And that's because I never had such appendages before. How could I possibly have known how to use them?
Naturally. I mean, naturally, the man had hooves throughout all of his past lives, and then all of a sudden has digits.
I also love the idea that the reason why babies know how to use their thumbs is because of their past lives. Like it's
100%.
Like that there is some sort of like memory of you using your thumb before that's deep down. And then that's why you can use a fork.
You being that general, who was slacking and hashing with the sword. That's the reason I'm so good with the sword today.
Yes, exactly. Because of that past life.
Because of that past life. I'm an incredible swordsman.
It's basically Assassin's Creed. All of your ancestors' memories are like encoded in your genes. It's like that, but with your soul. All of your memories are there, and it teaches you how to do things.
Right. And sadly, this guy has only ever been a horse.
He's only ever been a horse. And you know what? It not only causes problems with opposable thumbs. Chris, you may be aware of this, but horses walk on 4 legs and not 2.
They do. I've heard this, and I may have seen it.
And this very much threw this guy off his entire life up until now. Right.
Please tell me he's walking around on 4 legs.
He is not, but it's really hard for him to walk on 2.
Okay.
Maintain a mental image of my body as a vertical biped in order to not fall down. I've always had to do that all my life. And it's the kind of thing that, you don't ask other people about because it's like, it'd be like picking up something and saying, does this look red to you? I mean, how would how would another person know? I just thought it was just natural, but I've always been that way.
He's just always had trouble walking on 2 feet.
He has to give a mental image of himself to walk.
Right.
Because it's that difficult.
I am a horse stuck in a human's body. I can't use my 4 legs. I have to think all the time I'm walking on 2 legs.
Yes.
This man is constantly thinking about walking.
He has to think about walking.
Wherever he goes, he's always like, I'm walking on 2 legs right now.
Yes. It's a struggle, dude. Imagine how exhausting that would be, though.
Exhausting.
Having to constantly think about it's like thinking about breathing. Like if you had the soul of a fish in a human body and you're like, I have to breathe air.
This horse recorrective surgery is going to do wonders for Jason the Horseman.
I am honestly going to be so happy for him if it ever does occur, because this man.
What if he does just like get this horse surgery and then just like takes off and we're like, holy crap, this dude was like a horse.
So on previous Coast to Coast episodes where he was interviewed, and on this one, they dedicated 3 hours to Jason the Horse, 3 straight hours of just.
He's a fan favorite, dude.
He is. They love him. And on previous episodes, they had horse experts call in and start quizzing him on horse things. And he got them all right. He didn't miss anything.
And he got all of it.
That man knows his horses.
Well, then, I mean, I would hope that if you were going to do a whole number about being a horse, that you would know some things about horses.
Well, not only does he know a lot of things about horses, Chris, he's actually written a book as well.
About being a horse.
The book is called "What If You Are a Horse in Human Form?"
That's the question.
By Jason the Horse, and it's available on Amazon. You can buy it.
What if you're a horse in human form? That, I mean, it does all the work for you.
It does. It's great, and I almost bought it because I was like, "This guy is amazing."
It does all the work for you. What an incredible title. Oh
beautiful.
my God. Okay,
It's
keep
beautiful.
going. Keep
All right,
going. I'm in love with this.
We'll jump into the next clip. This guy, honestly, dude, he romanced me. I am so in on his story at this point. So let's jump to the next clip.
Well, I'm a draft horse in general, and specifically a Shire draft horse. And I learned about that one day I was in the school library and I was reading a book on horses, and it was a book published in Britain.
Loves the English, dude. This guy is so in on the English.
He is an English horse.
He's an English horse.
Showed a picture of a team of Shires pulling a beer wagon, and it identified that breed. And when I read that word, I never heard that word before, at least as applied to a horse. When I saw that picture, it just had an odd, I said it aloud to myself several times quietly because it had an odd, familiar ring to it, even though I'd never heard of a horse with that breed name before.
And you're even more specifically a black Shire draft horse.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's got a specific breed down.
He's got it down to the breed. He's a black Shire draft horse.
And he's like, holy cow, this is me. I didn't know. I've been wondering what kind of horse I've been my whole entire life.
You know, this is why representation is important, because he saw that and he immediately knew I am a black Shire draft horse.
Right.
Which I'm also curious because he apparently has lived multiple horse lives. So it seems like he's always been this one species. It's kind of
in Germany, he said he was a black horse.
Exactly. So I think he's just always, that one species of horse, which does, beg the question, as horses are bred and there were new breeds developed, what does he go into? I guess like ancestors of his previous breed. Like, it's just an interesting question to me.
That's an interesting question. Also an interesting question. He sounds like an old white man.
I believe he is for sure an old white man.
So whoever was in charge of karmic retribution that day that sent him into the human body, sounds like to me they really messed this one up.
An old white man in America probably did fine. So I don't really know what the play was here. But yeah, he's got it narrowed down to the species, man. He knows what he's doing. But the thing is, he's not the only person on this earth who is a horse trapped in a human body.
Well, I would think not.
There is a network of them.
There's a whole community of Lorians.
There are Therians.
Therians.
And not only that, but they are high up in the United States government.
Who is a horse human in the United States government?
I'm just saying he has friends with top secret security clearance who are also horses.
Dude, I think Joe Biden might be a horseman.
He may.
Do horses eat ice cream?
I know they lick a lot of salt, and it's pretty similar.
We'll go with it then. Yes, Joe Biden is
salt.
a Thorian, baby.
Yeah.
Therian.
A Therian. All right, so here's just a little bit about some of his buddies, some of his horse buddies.
Since discovered in later years that I'm not the only one. In fact, there are other people I know in my situation. One of whom, who was can't say much about him. He served in the Air Force and still has the top secret security clearance. And naturally, he doesn't tell many people about it either because he wants to keep that top secret security clearance. But he's a draft like I am, not the same breed. I better not even identify it, or people might be able to identify him from that.
They might be able to identify him by the breed that he is.
Which I am so curious how that is the case. Like, if you name his breed, he is going to be outed in the Air Force and lose his security clearance. Like, what? How the fuck would anyone connect that?
Dude, I love that, dude. It's just like, I can't even imagine because there's no way this guy is telling people this, right?
No, there's no way. No way. I mean, Jason the horse admits that he doesn't tell anyone he knows because they'll think he's insane. He only goes on the radio and talks to strangers about it, which fair. I respect that. it's easier to talk on a radio anonymously than like have to look someone in the face. But I just don't understand how this guy is going to be outed by his breed.
I love it.
It's great.
All right, so we have high clearance, security
Mm-hmm.
clearance people who are horses or possibly other types of animals or mythical creatures stuck in human bodies in the highest reaches of American government.
Exactly.
So that probably means that we do have some lizard people.
Potential. Now, here's the thing. We talk a lot about the lizard people, especially on Coast to Coast, but I don't think the horseman agenda is discussed enough. What do these horsemen want?
What do they want?
What do they want?
Oats and sugar
Want
cubes.
a lot of oats.
Oats and
Actually,
sugar cubes.
This is why we grow so much corn in America. It's because the horsemen have taken
Because of the
They
horse.
want all the fucking corn. Dude.
Oh my god, dude! This
It's
is
candy.
And why is everything packed with sugar? I mean, things we have sugar in foods that never needed sugar,
Yep.
and Americans don't eat horse. Many other cultures do.
I think we have started our own conspiracy on our first episode.
Oh,
I think we just
man.
got there. I think we got there. But
This is all making a lot of sense to me.
it's starting to track, but it may come off the rails here in a second, Chris, because there's also horse ancestors that talk to Jason the horse. He's
got all these past lives, so I would imagine so.
He's in touch with the old horse spirits.
So he's divining horse spirits.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, they are communicating with them.
All right.
Who are the horse ancestors, and what is your relationship to them?
Horse ancestors are the collective spirits of all horses who have ever lived, who are alive now, and who are yet to be born. And I am one of them as well, and so is every living horse. Any horse you may have seen, even the scruffiest little Shetland pony is one of them also. In other words, the collective of all of us.
Whoa, why is he hating on Shetland ponies,
Dude, because he's a Shire horse, dude. There's a hierarchy, and he's up there with the Shetland ponies.
Shetland ponies. Stupid pony.
Well, what's really interesting about his canon, if you will, is that typically reincarnation in a religious sense is seen as a way of like moving up or down a chain based on
Right.
karma, right?
Yes.
Like the more you improve, the better of a situation you're going to get until kind of you reach the ultimate pinnacle. And what he is saying is that it's more similar to like Wheel of Time, where you just kind of get thrown back in constantly, but you're always the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's horse conscious bubble.
Yeah.
And you come from horse bubble and you go back to horse bubble. It's very fascist.
It honestly, it is a little fascist.
It's incredibly fascist.
It's everyone's
It's the hierarchy of, I mean, I'm sure if you could be the best horse there is, right? But you're always a horse.
Yeah. You can never rise up. You are in your preordained position and you are where they want you to be.
Yeah.
Right. And who is they, man?
So somebody really screwed up.
Someone really
Making
screwed up
them
by
a human.
They should not have. I mean, according to this lore, he should not be a human right now, right? Because
ultimate screw up.
Yeah, someone shit the bed,
Big time.
Yeah.
So this is like the Ted Danson and Kristen Bell, The Good Life, or The Good Place.
The Good Place. Well, The Good Place
Place
wasn't a mess up though. They all were supposed to be there because they were actually in the bad place. Spoilers. You spoiled it for everyone. It's it's like in the Adjustment Bureau where the angel falls asleep and then spills the coffee on himself or whatever and like completely botches the play.
Yeah.
It's like someone fell asleep.
Somebody fell asleep, pressed a button, and they were like, "Oh, that horse isn't a human."
I love the idea though that you can't undo it. Like there's no undo button.
No, there's no back. There's no take back seats.
It's like he got dropped into a baby, and they were just like, "Fuck, dude. Well, guess we got to see how this plays out. Got oars in there."
he couldn't tell us this story if there were take backsies.
I know. You can't just swap out a soul, man. Once it's in
This is good. This is good canon, dude. This is really some very fascist, but I mean, keeping the story straight.
The rigid hierarchy is a bit uncomfortable. But you know,
it's thinking that I've come from a lower form, dude. I hope to be reincarnated into a higher form.
You're always just going to be Chris.
I'm sitting here doing a podcast, you know, that isn't going to get any listens.
Podcasts only get reincarnated. Like if you're a podcaster, you come back as a podcaster.
You come back as a, I hope to be more successful one day, but it's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Stuck in obscurity.
Exactly. And speaking of obscurity, we're about to get even more obscure as he talks about the horse ancestors coming to him in dreams.
Where else would they come to him?
It's a great question. I think wherever this guy feels like on that day, but they came to him in a dream this time.
They actually contacted me. I was working out at our airport here in Alaska at the time, and they came to me in a dream, which quickly became a lucid dream. And also, but the strange thing was, after I woke up, they were still there in the room with me. Started out where I was standing in this form. I suddenly started seeing stylized, embroidered horse heads, like you'd see on medieval, what they call heraldry, I think.
Right.
Started to appear out of the fabric. And then I heard a voice from all of them saying, as in a chorus, saying, we wish, in English, it would go, well, they weren't speaking in English, but in English it would say, we wish to speak with you. Will you speak with us?
Now,
Wow,
Chris.
dude. See, I think there may be some truth to this because he started talking about lucid dreaming.
That's what does it for you is the lucid dream.
I was skeptical. I was on I only believe this. I'm going into like I believe it in my muscles now, dude.
I was skeptical until he told me it was a dream, and now I believe it.
No. He brought up lucid dreaming.
That's
And
dreaming.
that's good stuff.
It's
Oh,
dreaming with awareness. You can train
a lot of science.
All right. Well,
behind
Chris,
this.
I have a question for you, though. I have a question for you. So Jason the horse, his entire life, he has like thought he's a horse, right? He can't use his thumbs right. He's just falls over whenever he tries to walk.
He's like, I'm bipedal. I have to use 2 feet.
And finally, right? He's lived his entire life. He's an adult man now working at an airport. And in these
At an airport?
He's working at an airport. Yes.
He didn't even like try to work with horses.
No, he works at an airport. So that's a great question, though. I wish I had called in and asked.
Well, though, dude, there's like something with like being a baggage man and being a horse.
There's something there.
There's some kind of connection there, dude, that I think. And you could call an airplane a sky horse. It is transportation.
You could call it that. Technically, one can say it's a sky horse.
Dude, I'm connecting some dots here, dude.
That
might be a horse.
That's a dot. There are dots, and you did draw a line. I'll give you that. Okay, but let me ask you this.
Pepe Sylvia.
Yeah, exactly. So you think you're a horse, right? And these horse ancestors come to you, and the first thing they say is, "Will you speak to us?" What would you say? Yes, I'm assuming.
100%.
Jason,
I'm going to be like, thank you for asking for my permission. I consent to talk to you, horse spirits.
I verbally consent to this.
Yes.
Well, Jason did not verbally consent to the communication. He was too busy. He had to go to work.
Please, I gotta hear this.
I had no idea how long that contact would take. So I had to go to work that day. And I said, I can't do it now. We should talk soon. And they asked again, please will you speak with us? And I said, not now, soon.
He had to go to work.
They gotta go to work, dude.
Work.
This is about to be a super profound conversation. I'm talking to my horse ancestors for the first time. I don't got the time for this. I got to get to the airport and work with the sky horses and carry baggage.
It's like call in sick, dude. Call in sick.
Nah, dude. He's a true horse.
He is.
When I heard from them, their last message, which was very well, we will talk then. And then they gradually faded away from my ability to perceive them. I got up, got ready for work, went out to the airport and just worked a normal day like I had many times before.
So your experience with the horse ancestors has always been positive.
And he goes on to kind of talk about how it was always positive, but he just goes to work instead of talking to the horses, man.
I'm about to find out something profound about myself, something that's going to change the course of my life. Hold up one second. I don't know, dude. That is, I almost think that is a positive to his point, right? That like a swindler would tell us the story and that he had this amazing conversation. He told these horses to come back later. Sorry, bros. Can't talk right now. I got to go work, which plays into his draft horse persona.
Because he's a hard worker. You're right.
He's a hard worker. Got to get to the airport. Got to get to the sky horses. Got to take people from point A to point B.
I hate sky horses.
I'm not calling them airplanes anymore, dude. They're sky horses from now on.
Your wife is going to be so annoyed when you're like, oh, we got to,
we got to go take a ride on the sky horse.
Dude.
Everyone I meet, I'm going to be like, are you a horse?
Are you a horse?
Every employee.
Everyone in the baggage claim.
Yeah, everyone in all the couriers and couriers or whatever the heck they're called. You're a horse, right?
It's cool, man. It's cool if you are.
No, believe me. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Have you heard of Jason? I read his book.
Yeah, I read. I know all about Theranthropes, man.
I want to buy that book and read that on a plane.
There you go.
What if you were a horse?
What if somebody came to you and you're like, oh, Theranthrope.
Indeed. Someone, I mean, there is someone who would know.
He sold more than a few of these books. I'm almost sure of that.
Oh, he has to have. I mean, he's been on Coast to Coast, the most listened to 2 a.m. radio show.
Right.
Like he sold books.
Yeah.
I mean,
followed by Coast to Coast PM.
Exactly.
The most listened to podcast about Coast to Coast AM.
And the thing is, that is true.
That is
technically true.
We haven't been able to find one.
There's not one. I looked really hard.
There is no other podcast about this. We're number one.
We are the number one Coast to Coast AM podcast.
I am a Theranthrope of somebody who personifies himself as number one of something in the world.
Exactly. All right, we got to get the calls though.
Okay. Oh God,
we got to get
calls now. Oh man.
So
now we got our skeptics.
I wouldn't even call them skeptics. Most of them are in on it, dude.
They love it.
They love it.
They love Jason the horse.
So I want you to listen to this first caller, Kathleen Scranton.
Kathleen,
tell scale of 1 to 10. How fucked up does she sound to you,
dude? It's 2 a.m. Everyone.
By now it's 3. It's 3 a.m. by now.
It's 3 a.m. You're either fucked up on being like mentally ill, a third shift worker, security guard, or you've had too many drugs and too much alcohol.
Those are really the only options.
Those are the only options.
Those are the only options.
Those are your only options.
Or truck driver. I'll give you truck driver.
Truck driver. But again, third shift.
Yeah.
Third shift lonely job because you don't listen to Coast AM with people. This is a solitary exercise.
You're alone in the darkness.
You're alone.
That is what I listen to. It is alone.
Every time I listen to Coast AM, I've been alone in the dark by myself.
Never been
a dark, like mentally unwell.
I'm just curled up next to my bed. I'm not on the bed. I'm next to it listening.
I am in the fetal position, rocking back and forth. All right.
Let's go to
Kathleen
Let's go to Kathleen.
Kathleen is in Scranton on Coast to Coast AM. Kathleen?
Yes. Hi. I find it amazing that he has come from a workhorse to a human and being reincarnated. I find that amazing.
That is somebody who is very drunk and has possibly taken some pills.
Dude, she is fucked up. And here's the thing.
She is loaded.
Here's the thing, dude. This is Coast to Coast with screeners. They have a screener now.
I find it amazing that this man is a horse and has been a horse his whole life. And I just think it's super brave of a horse to be a human in the body of a human and 4 legs and a draft horse. And it's just like this woman just like has repeated words that this man has said in no order. I mean, it's honestly, it's like, did you actually listen to what he was? I find it amazing.
Is a horse? He's a horse.
So Kathleen has a question. Though.
Kathleen has a question. So let's get to our actual question. I just had to play that little intro for you.
It's too good, dude.
You got a question for Jason the horse?
Yeah, Ian's like, come on, get to the question.
What I want to ask you is, what is your diet? Do you have? You had like a romance kind of sort of with a mare, but not with women.
She asked, "What is your diet?" And then do you fuck horses? Is what she did.
Do you eat like a horse? How much horse food do you go through every day?
And do you have a romance with a mare?
Do you like horses sexually? Are you sexually attracted to horses?
This is.
Oh my God! What is his answer?
I'll play the answer.
What this body requires, including, I'm not proud of it, meat. And that's rather a point of bone of contention, no pun intended, between myself and some other horses in human form with whom I communicate. Some are vegetarians, and I just tell them, well, go in the mirror and look at your teeth. You'll notice that some of them are quite sharp, made for tearing.
So he completely ignores the "do you have sex with horses" question.
Well, you can't answer that one, dude.
You can't answer that.
You can't answer that question.
He does describe him earlier in the episode more of as like himself as more of as like an asexual. So it's not that he ever is, attracted to horses. So it's not really something that occurs, but a lot of the callers specifically were asking about bestiality, which is a little weird.
You got to ask that question though.
So our next caller also brings up bestiality and gets immediately shut down by Ian.
I do love though that his thing is, well, I eat meat, and actually a lot of people in our Theranthrope community don't eat meat, and it's like, yeah, dude, that you're like, I eat horse.
Oh, well, so the funny thing about it, though, is that what is inherently wrong if you are part, horse or part fox or something as long as you're not eating that species, I don't really see an issue with you eating meat, right?
Well, I guess it really depends on, where does the soul begin and the body end, right? Because there's this weird dichotomy for me where it's like I'm a human and I'm totally fine with humans being omnivores, right? I mean, if anything, we were probably scavengers back in the day. And I'm okay being like, I don't go out in my backyard and eat the dead carcasses that I find. Not that there's a lot of dead carcasses in my backyard.
So, yeah, what's going on in your backyard recently, dude? I don't eat any of the dead animals in my backyard.
I don't eat any.
Not a single one.
I let them rot there.
Listen, I tried it once. Okay, it was kind of gamey.
It may have been a little past its prime,
but which is okay. So Chris, let's get to the next one where Ian has to actually.
All right, you don't want to go down this road, do you?
I don't know. I want to get to the next caller because I want to keep getting on the horse fucking train.
Ron is in Toledo on Coast to Coast AM for Jason the Horse.
Hi, Jason. I really kind of your community, and I had hoped that you kind of form a group, even secretly. But I was wondering what your feelings were on this Colorado man who somehow knows the horse.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
Well, we're not going to talk about. I love that he knew what he meant by the Colorado man.
Immediately knew. I had to look this up.
Immediately knew.
I had to look this up because I had no idea.
I don't know what they're talking about.
So about a year or two ago, there was a man in Colorado who was arrested for having sex with people's horses. He would break into barns.
He was constantly having sex with horses.
He's having sex with horses.
I imagine, Paul.
Well, so here's the thing. The story's not done. He was arrested, went to jail, broke out of jail, and went and had sex with another horse.
Immediately.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
He just went for it.
I imagine, since you've done such extensive research, that it's not easy to have sex with a horse.
You know, that's the thing. So I don't know because I didn't research the
your extensive research, Paul. Well, how did you find out that people have sex with horses?
From the Colorado man. That I just Googled Colorado man horse, and it was the first thing that came up.
It was the first hit.
First thing. It was easy to find. But I imagine it is not super easy. But also you have to imagine the horse probably doesn't even really notice much.
Pretty good researchers that Coast to Coast AM has.
Yeah.
You know immediately, the Colorado man who escaped, he's definitely talking about horse sex.
He's talking about bestiality. He caught that so fast.
Very fast.
Once again, discredit to their screeners because the screeners should have caught this. Yeah. And they completely missed it. So once again, just imagine what it was like before the screeners, and it's beautiful. So this next caller is curious if it's possible that our friend Jason the horse was actually Mr. Ed.
That he could have been Mr. Ed in a past life. You know, the Mr. Ed, the famous Mr. Ed, who was a workhorse too, but he was in Hollywood.
And the answer is no, he was not Mr. Ed.
He was not Mr. Ed. Though for those of you who don't know, Mr. Ed was a talking horse in old, I think 1940s. Was it Green Acres?
Yeah. Very old, very smart horse who could like respond to commands and stuff.
And they would like give the horse peanut butter, which is how they would like make the horse's mouth move.
Yeah.
Because it like was trying to ungum its mouth.
Yeah. So,
which, I mean, this is actually bringing up a good thing. Can a horse or can a human get stuck in a horse's body?
That
naturally,
is actually, it would have to be, right? There's no way it can only happen in one direction.
One way.
Yeah. How many horses are actually humans, do you think?
More than a few. There's probably a whole community of them.
If there's a community of people that are horses, there's got to be a community of horses that are people.
And they're going around to the horses being like, I'm bipedal. I use tools.
Can't run for shit. Can't jump over anything.
I can't. I'm like trying to like open up gates with my forepaws.
Constantly.
Just constantly. You're like, no, I can do math.
Oh, dude, that would be so beautiful.
It's a horrifying. It's actually a horrifying thought.
Man, those poor horses, like they just see these bipeds walking out. They're like, I want to be that. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Exactly right.
Well, the thing with being a horse trapped in a human body, there are also people who called in, talking about their spirit animals.
Okay.
And this is
is different though, right? A spirit animal is like a little bit more like Native American Wiccan, right? Where it's like, I have the attributes of a hawk or something.
Yeah, similar. It's
I'm not
a familiar.
I'm not a hawk trapped in a man's body. I'm just very interested in hawks have some personality traits of a hawk.
Sure.
I am not actually a hawk.
Yeah, or like a hawk watches over me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, something like that.
So my question is, Jason, when did you realize you were Jason the horse? Because I knew way back when I didn't even know what it was, but it was a ghostly figure. When my spirit animal was a dragon. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I like that.
His spirit animal is a dragon. It just brings me so much joy.
I'm a dragon.
Would you consider it like a spirit animal? Like he would think about a dragon, or like in Harry Potter, they refer to them as a Patronus?
No, I am a horse, and I'm stuck in this body.
No.
No, I'm a horse.
No, I am a horse.
I'm just a horse. You dumb bitch.
No spirit animal. I am a horse in a man's body.
So
what a loser, though. You know, I almost give Jason a little bit more credit because this loser being like, my spirit animal's a dragon. Like that's like ultra lame.
Dude, that guy doesn't get laid. I'll tell you that. Now, Jason the horse, this guy, it's something about him. Like, as I listened to 3 hours of this man talk about being a horse, something about it was very enticing, right? He's so earnest. It's an earnestness, and there's such sincerity to what he's saying, and it's more just a situation of like he's on because they keep asking him to be on, so he's like, I guess I'll come on and talk about it if you want me to, but. In the most that he's done, like in terms of a grift, is like sell a 99-cent book on Amazon.
It's actually 99 cents.
It's like 99 cents.
This dude has no grift. He is just here to talk about being a horse trapped in a human's body.
And the thing is, I fully believe that he believes this, honestly.
He honestly believes that he is a horse trapped in a human's body.
Yes, he does.
Like, he is actually a therianthrope. He is a part of a community of other therianthropes who also truly believe that they are animals trapped in humans' bodies.
Yeah, he believes it, man.
It's incredible.
Like, you know what? More power to you. So Ian wraps up this episode after 3 hours of talking with Jason the horse with a terrible, terrible pun that really hurt my soul.
Ride or die, buddy. I would. I'll have you back on anytime you could afford the time, and give us an update on your health when you get a chance. And I would love to keep in touch with you.
Just tell me when, and I'll be at your service.
All right, very good. Well, so that means that if I ask you again, you won't say nay.
No.
Dude, no way. That ruled, dude. That totally. I love the.
You won't say nay.
I love the ride or die at the front end, and just end it with a nay, dude. I mean, couldn't say it better myself.
Well, at one point in the episode, they come back from break, and he's like, "I don't know if anyone else heard this, but I think I heard Jason the horse neighing when he laughed." So he asked him straight up, like, "Hey, were you neighing when you laughed?" Because I guess he thought his laugh sounded like a neigh, and then Jason the horse was just like, "No, I was just laughing, dude."
No, I don't. No. I'm not gonna neigh.
I'm not a fucking sideshow, Ian. Okay,
that's exactly right.
In a man's body.
Yeah,
I'm here for your fucking entertainment.
That's right. That's exactly right, dude. And that's the earnestness.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this isn't some kind of like sideshow Barnum and Bailey like freak show, right? Like, this is a man who believes he is a horse trapped in a man's body.
Yeah, he's not playing into the bit. Like, it reminded me of Nightmare Alley, where it's about the carnivals, right? And it's just so many people playing into a bit and running a grift. This guy doesn't play into the bit.
There's no grift
at all. He's just like, I'm a horse in a man's body. What's up?
And if you got questions, I got answers.
Yeah, I'm here. Whatever you want, as long as you're respectful about it. He will answer your questions. And
I'm a black draft horse.
Yes.
And
Shire
that's
horse. Shire draft horse.
Black Shire draft horse.
Yes. Who was in England as well as Germany at one point.
Yeah.
And
Very European.
Very, very
incredibly European.
And that is the story of Jason the Horse, live to you from
Dude, what a way to start out. You know, I thought we were going to be doing aliens or cryptozoology or something and you start me off with Jason the Horse, dude. And I got to tell you, man, I'm pretty excited.
I debated how to start. There were so many good episodes, but for some reason, I think about this episode more than I should. And I had to talk about it with you because it's so interesting.
Jason is just like you don't even really feel bad for him or anything. No. This is just a man who thinks he's a horse and like lives his life believing he's a horse.
And you know what, man? More power to him.
He's not hurting anyone. He's not, like you said, he's not grifting anyone. He's selling his book for 99 cents. I mean, he could have sold it for $5.
Yeah.
Even then, I would have been like, it's not much of a grift.
No, it's a book on Amazon, man. So
he's not going around giving talks.
Yeah.
This is just a man who's like, I'm a horse.
Yeah. And I love it. So that was our first episode. There's going to be plenty of aliens in cryptozoology in Hollow Earth coming up on the podcast, but this just felt like such a strong way to start with Jason the Horse.
Very strong.
As well as I definitely want to dive into.
You could say maybe we're a couple of workhorses.
You could say that. You could say that.
You won't say nay.
It feels like where we should shut this down.
Oh my God, dude. First pod of Coast to Coast PM.
Coast to Coast PM. I think that's been the show. I think we close things down from here, right?
Is that we're just gonna hard stop?
Do we got a wrap-up segment?
I don't have a wrap-up segment, dude. I can't believe we just talked about a man who thought he was a horse.
All right, on 1 to 5 draft horses, Chris, how much do you believe this man is a horse?
Oh, dude, I give it a full sky horse.
You give it a sky horse? It's off the chart.
I give it a full.
Actually, a horse.
I give it a full. The horse spirits are talking to this man. The horse spirits are talking to this.
I'm going to disagree as the skeptic, the resident skeptic here. I give him 1 out of 5. I don't believe this man is a horse, but I give him 10 hearts because I love him so much.
He has a horse's heart.
He has a horse's. It's a big old horse.
It's a gigantic heart that will probably mean he will die of a heart attack at a young age.
Yeah,
because of gigantism.
I love him. I hope he's back on the show soon. He's going through.
Love you, Jason.
Yeah, he's going through some health problems. Hope he comes out on the other side okay. But yeah, I think he's great. I think he's fantastic.
Wow, dude. And you didn't even give us like a George Norrie or an Art Bell. You gave us like a third-rate host, dude, and it was still awesome.
Listen, we started in like tier 3 host.
Yeah,
like, he's not even host. In terms of the backup hosts, he's not even one of the good backup hosts, in my opinion. But
dude, he got the horse guy. Like, how good can you be?
He got the horse guy, and that's
the horse guy.
Oh, it's because he's the horse guy. You know,
he's the horse. So he's the guy that always does the horse.
He always does the horse interviews. That's his
shtick.
Yeah, it's his source is the.
Is it worse to be the horse guy host or the horse guy?
I think being the horse guy sounds awesome.
I know that's what I'm saying. I think it's worse to be the horse guy host.
Yeah, host. I think Jason's having a great time.
Yeah.
So I'm here for him.
He's just dreaming about running in that English countryside.
He is, and it's a beautiful world that he's in, and I wish him.
All right, dude. Coast to Coast PM.
That's been Coast to Coast PM. My name is Paul here with my sweet brother Chris talking Coast to Coast.
Sky horse, dude. That was a real sky horse of a first episode.
Well, drop us 5 stars wherever you're listening to this to help other people find it. We're brand new. We need the help. And if you listen to it and you like it, send it to a friend because they need to know more about Jason the Horse.
Got to.
You got to. That's been the show. Much love. Thanks, everyone.
Later.